Alright, today is a very exciting day because I finally finished my Forestman collection here. As you can see, I have all 23 variants of Forestman from all sets released from 1987 to 1990, and then we have two re-release figs from the year 2009 and 2010. Now, as you can see, there is a lot of green here. That was the primary color for the Forestman figures. And then most of what we have going on here is just slight variants in either hat color, torso color, or feather color and design. Now I've got them all set up here displayed nicely just because I think it's a nice shot to see them all grouped together like this. But what I want to do is go through and show you them all individually, and I can tell you the sets they came from. I'll also put up the Bricklink average used price right now just so you have a reference for what these guys are going for. They've definitely got a lot more expensive over the past, I'd say, year and a half that I've been avidly trying to get them all. So it's been a pain to my wallet to see these guys go up in price, although I'm very lucky that some of the ones that I got were not anywhere close to as expensive as they are now. But anyways, so we'll just jump right into it, starting with the first set released. And that set is 6066 Camouflaged Outpost. Now this guy here is the most expensive forestman. Not the most expensive figure, since the forestwoman is a little bit more expensive than this guy, but as far as just the forestman figures themselves go. And that is primarily because of his black small feather there. He is one of two minifigures to include that. He is also one of two minifigures to include this black collar and arms torso print there. He is also the only forestman figure to have one of these little baskets on his back like that. All the others either have nothing or just a quiver. He's definitely one of my personal favorites just because I think the black and green really works a lot more for camouflage in the forest than some of the bright colors like the blues and the reds that the other guys have. And I like the uniqueness of his little basket there. Our next guy is also from 6066, released in 1987. He has got the same torso print, except this time in blue. And he's got a small blue feather right there. That is the second most expensive feather at this time. He's also got a bow and arrow and quiver, and then he's got a brown hat. I really do like the color scheme of this guy a lot. I think the browns and blues really go together well. And this set actually included two of this figure, so if you buy all the Forestman sets, you will have two of these guys. And here you have another figure from 6066. He's a pretty standard green Tunic Forceman with the deep V-neck and money pouch on his belt there. He's also got a bow and arrow and a quiver, and then he's got the small yellow feather this time. Now, this guy was also re-released in the year 1988 in set 6103 Castle minifigures. So he's been in two sets total. Now we are still in set 6066 with this red Tunic Forceman, and this set has all four of the different Forestman torso patterns, which is really cool. And then it also has 4 out of the 5 feather colors as well. And these guys will definitely start getting pretty similar after this, so I'm kind of going to go a little bit faster. But this guy right here just has a green hat, red feather, and red torso. Finally, the last figure from 6066, he is the same as the guy that we just saw, except this time he's got a brown hat instead of green. And honestly, I do think that the brown and the red matches better here than the green hat. So I like this guy a little bit more. Now he is also one of the few minifigures to be re-released. This guy also came out in the year 1990 as a prisoner in the 6042 Dungeon Hunter set. And that was actually a Crusaders set, and unless you count the supplemental pack of the Knights minifigures, that was the only set outside of the Forestman line to contain a Forestman, so pretty cool there. And one thing that you'll probably notice here is that this guy on the left actually has like a much darker red on his middle torso print there. Now I'm not sure if that's just print variation or if that's actually like a alternate torso. There's definitely, you will see like a difference in the reds, as far as there's always one that's significantly darker, and it doesn't seem like just a slight printer variation, but maybe it could be. So Bricklink doesn't notify anything about it. It's just something that I've noticed from having a lot of different red torsoed figures. Finally, we made it into the year 1988, and this guy comes from set 6054, the Forestman's Hideout. Now, he is the only minifigure to have a small white feather, which is funny because you'd think it'd be the most valuable because it's actually rarer than the black feather in the Forestman faction. However, they still make this exact piece today, and they still make it in white primarily, so it's actually the cheapest of all the small feathers. Apart from that, he's just got the standard v-neck and then a spear. This guy is still from the same set, the Forestman's Hideout in 1988. He has got a bow and arrow, a red torso, a brown hat, and a small yellow feather. And he is the last of our Forestman figures today that has been re-released. This guy came in set 6077, the Forestman's River Fortress, released in 1989. And after that, we will not see any more Forestman figures that were re-released. So all the guys following this are going to be exclusive to the set they're in. Now, another thing you might have noticed, although probably not because even Bricklink doesn't call this out, is that there is a variant for the head mold here. This guy on the left has a much more square-edged head there than the guy on the right. Now, they both have the solid stud tops, and that's what that looks like. Now, the only thing that Bricklink calls out is the variance in the solid head, and then after that, in the 90s, they switched to the tri-hold head that is recessed that I'm sure you've seen plenty of times. So for some reason they don't call out the difference in the square head and then the rounded head, and I don't know why. I also don't know when LEGO switched those. Sometimes in sets you'll even have a combination of the rounded and square heads, so who knows? LEGO was doing all sorts of weird things in the 90s and earlier especially, so. Alright, so this guy comes from 6103, the Castle Minifigures pack, and we are still in 1988, although we did see the other guy that came in the set earlier, and this is the other guy that's actually unique to the set. He's also got the Forestman shield there, which I really love that shield. It's a very nice emblem and the coloring is really good as well. So now we are moving into 1989. This guy right here comes from 6077, the Forestman's River Fortress. And actually he's the same as the guy that we last saw apart from his hat color. This guy right here is also from 6077. He's got the blue torso. And this set is actually the first set to use something other than the small feathers for the Forestman. So he's got the large single plume yellow feather there. This guy is also from 6077, the standard blue torso with the small blue feather and green hat right there. This is our last figure from 6077, and he has also got the large single plume red feather, so that's the first time we've seen that as well. Apart from that, the standard v-neck torso. And next up we've got this figure here from 1989, released in the set 1974, which I know is a little confusing. That was the Smuggler's Hayride. And this is the second most expensive Forestman figure, again, only because of his small black feather there. And that feather is approaching close to $30 just for that tiny little piece of plastic. I guess it makes sense because those tiny little accessories are for sure the first thing to go. And across all the castle sub-themes and all the sets that include the 3 plume wheels that they came on originally, the black one is by far the rarest, so it makes sense why that one is most often just lost. Alright, so we are moving into 1990, the final year of the Forestman. This guy right here is from set 6071, which is the Forestman's River Crossing. So this guy's got the triple plumed red feather, which I think looks very cool, very grandiose there. Here we have another guy from 6071. He's got the blue torso, and then this time he has the triple plume feather in yellow. And I think that the large yellow feather and the blue torso look good as well with the browns there. So I really like this guy. He's very colorful, definitely stands out. Here we have another guy from 6071. He's got the red torso, and then this time he's got the large single plumed yellow feather. This guy is also from 6071. He is the second Forestman to include the black torso there, which I really, really like. He's just got the small red feather this time, so he's not obscenely expensive like his counterpart with the black torso. And here we have our last figure from 6071, and she is by far the most expensive out of all the Forestman figures. She is exclusive to just this set, and her torso print as well as her bandana wrap in green are both exclusive to just this set. And this set was also exclusive to just North America. So as you can imagine, Forestman collectors all around the world really want to get their hands on this figure, so her price has just gone up and up. I really like her torso print there. Her face print is very lacking, but again, apart from this figure, they were pretty much just doing smiley faces, and that's all they had for the Forestman, so at least they gave her something other than a smiley face. This guy right here is from set 1877, the Crusaders Cart. Now this set was also released in the UK as 1680 and included one more minifigure, and I'll show you that minifigure at the end as well. This guy right here is very standard fare at this point. This guy is also from set 1877/1680, released in the year 1990. He has got the blue torso with the triple plumed red feather. This set is one of two Forestman sets to include this pitchfork accessory, which I really like. And I'm surprised they didn't include it with the original Black Forestman that we saw that had the basket on his back. It would just make a lot of sense that he would be like shoveling hay to take care of the horse in that set. So I don't know why they didn't include that in there, but either way, it's a very cool piece. And here we have our last Forestman figure before we get to the re-releases. And this guy was exclusive to set 1680 in the UK. Now there's nothing particularly rare about him compared to the other ones. It's literally just the instructions in box for that set that are very, very hard to find. So I just decided to stick with my 1877 instructions and throw this guy in there. So now I have all the unique Forestman minifigures. Now that we are done with the original Forestman line, we can get to the re-releases. This guy right here comes from one of the vintage minifigure collections from the year 2009. And funnily enough, this is actually the very first Forestman figure I owned. I had always really liked the Forestman figures ever since I found out about them when I was a lot younger. And so when I saw this set had the Forestman figure in it, I knew I had to get it. So I did get it when it was originally on shelves in 2009. And I do want to do a little comparison of the original Forestman figure that this guy is based on. As you can see, the torso print is a little bit crisper on the newer guy. However, the plastic definitely looks to be the softer plastic that they are using in like the collectible minifigures. You can also see that the hat there is reddish brown instead of standard brown. It's a little bit hard to see this on camera, but the re-released feather is just slightly more translucent / like softer plastic. It's an interesting feeling. I can't really get that through on camera, but maybe you can see the slight variation in color. The other way you can tell them apart is, again, the originals all had closed stud heads, whereas the re-release at the time they were using the open tri-hole head, which is that right there. And then the last thing to distinguish them are these 4 prongs on the inside of their torso. All the figures from the 90s had these very tiny prongs right there. And then at the time in 2009, they were making them like this. So that's one way to tell them apart. And here's our very, very last figure. This is a re-release of the Forestwoman, which is pretty cool that they did re-release her. She's still pretty expensive, but if you don't want to shell out almost double for the original, you can get the re-release figure, which is cool. Now again, there are ways to tell her apart, and I'll go through that now. As you can see, the one on the left here has a little bit brighter torso. It's just a little bit brighter than the green of the legs, whereas the one on the right is a little bit darker than the green of the legs. And on camera, they look pretty close, but in person, it is definitely just slightly darker. Now again, the heads are a giveaway. The one on the left here has the closed stud, whereas the one on the right has the open stud. Now also the plastic types are the same variants that we saw before, where this one has the hard plastic and this one has the little bit softer like collectible minifigure plastic. So you see that in the head wrap as well. And then again, you've got the prongs on the inside. This one's going to have the small prongs, whereas this one is going to have the larger prongs. So if you are very intent on getting the original Forestwoman figure, those are some of the ways that you can tell her apart from the re-release. So there you have it, all 23 unique Forestman figures. So thank you for sticking with me. I know I definitely ramble more than I need to, but hopefully you found it enjoyable and hopefully you learned something new about Forestmen, maybe. They're definitely one of my favorite sub-themes in Castle, Now in this video I only included the 23 that Bricklink counts as Forestman figures, so that doesn't include anything from Dark Forest. Now if you want to see the sets that these guys come in, I have reviewed most of the Forestman line. I'm still working on doing the 2 cart reviews, but apart from that you can check out my channel to see all the other Forestman sets. Anyways, that's all I've got for now, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.